where there is not the same requirements. So as the U.S. consulate and embassies who our employees have the responsibility to advocate for American companies and to ensure that there is a level playing field for American companies. You have a lot of American companies working here in Nigeria.
Does Halliburton ring a bell? Does Halliburton ring a bell?
It's an American company.
And it was involved in some funny deals, that we heard about.
Yes, that
And we don't even know if that's been resolved yet.
Here in Nigeria?
In America, the case was in court in America as well.
And I think that's the key. The case is in court.
It is in court, yes. Now, let's take a look at the Young African Leadership Initiative. A lot of us are aware of the fact that the President of the United States of America is an inspirational speaker, is an inspiring figure, and he has spoken at length about the next generation of Africans, especially Nigerians, who will take the country to the next level. What exactly are you expecting to get out of this when you're talking about 1,000, 2,000 young Nigerians coming to America, being mentored, being prepared for a position of leadership? What do you expect to get, and what kind of timeline are you looking at?
Well, let me correct you. It's 500 to 1,000 Africans.
500 to 1,000.
We think in the initial program we'll have about 50 Nigerians, but there are other programs that assist young Nigerians here in Nigeria as well.
You're saying 50 Nigerians currently in the current?
Yeah, who we...
Among the 500?
Yes, in this new... And it could be more.
Mm-hmm.
So our hope is that these young people will become the engines of change, that they will build a network around them, that will allow them to communicate with other young people from other countries. In the program that we did 2 years ago, I was ambassador in Liberia, and we sent 2 amazing young Liberians. And they have come back and just on a mission. And they've organized young people, and they're in contact with young people from other countries in Africa who were in the program. So we hope that it will generate a level of communications, cooperation, intensity, and capacity to take on the challenges of the future. Because without leadership, Africa is doomed to fail. And so we want a successful Africa. We want a prosperous Africa that builds a future for the next generation. And you can't have that if you're not supporting that generation's capacity to lead.
How does training 50 people, young people, translate into the kind of change that the American government would love to see happen in Nigeria?
I think it's a drop in the bucket. I'm not unrealistic to think that 50 people will transform Nigeria, but 50 people infecting 500,000 people could have that impact. One person with amazing leadership skills and amazing responsibilities can impact thousands of people around them. I was last night at a program called The Experience, and I was told that there was anywhere between 600,000 and 1 million people in the room. And Pastor Paul, who I thought was very young, was one of those young leaders. I'm not here to advertise for him. I probably shouldn't be advertising for him. But I was amazed at the intensity of the room. And that this young man could stand up on the stage and have 500,000 people sit quietly and listen to the message that he was delivering. So we want to help create that kind of leadership, that kind of energy, so that Nigerians see a future.
Okay.
What are your thoughts about leadership in Africa? Because we were talking about Nelson Mandela at the beginning of the program, and we were talking about the way the youth have spoken about him, and how the youth were searching for heroes and wishing that Mandela was a Nigerian, even though he's an African and we all have taken possession of Mandela. I mean, he's a black man and he belonged to all of us. So what are your thoughts about leadership across Africa at the moment?
I think, just to start with Mandela, we need more Mandelas.
Yes.
We need more African leaders who see their place in history, who lead and then transition to new leadership, build a legacy, and then leave the legacy for new people to come on board. And there's not enough of that. We want to see free and fair and transparent elections on the continent of Africa, where the wills of the people are expressed and allowed to flourish. And that it's happening in some countries. It's beginning to happen in other countries, and we're hoping that it infects even more countries so that we can see that change in leadership. What I always say is, and again, I always refer to gray hairs because mine's gray too, so I'm not just picking on. I'm not just picking on you.
I love my gray.
That at some point the gray hairs have to move aside and sit back and watch the fruits of their work, and the fruits of their work are the next generation coming on board, following in their footsteps and leading Africa to the next level. And we're not quite there yet.
So when you look at someone like Mandela, what's your thoughts now that he's passed on? Because a lot of African leaders are saying things.
Yeah, first of all, I'm incredibly sad. I fought back tears many, many times over the past couple of days because Mandela was owned by all of us. The South Africans gave us a gift. And I was really happy to already be on the continent so that I can share the grief, but also the celebration of Mandela's life and the contribution that he has made to Africa, and the example he has set for the future, and the leadership he has provided that brought South Africa out of a very, very terrible situation to the place where South Africa is today as a leader on the continent. So I can only say we need more Mandelas, we need more of that kind of leadership, and we need more of those examples.
Have you had any interaction with him in your years of service in the Foreign Service?
I met him one time, and I still remember the experience. I was actually in Pakistan, serving as a Foreign Service officer, and Mandela came to Pakistan. And when I walked in the room, and it's the one time in my life where I felt like my color got me an advantage because I walked in the room and the Pakistanis thought I was South African. And so they didn't make me sit at the top of the stadium where all the other foreign diplomats were sitting. I was pulled to the front row with the other Africans. And they were all South Africans, and I didn't understand, and my ambassador, who was sitting way up in the stadium, how did Linda get down there on the front row? And at the end of the program, after Mandela spoke, he came down to shake all of our hands, and I can still feel his hand in my hand, and he said, "Thank you for your service to our country." I said, "You're most welcome, sir."
Well, that is good.
That was my only experience with him, but of course his example has impacted all of us, and will always be a memory, a positive memory for all of us.
But I can't but mention the fact that once upon a time his organization was regarded as more or less a terrorist organization, the ANC.
By the South African government and also by the United States government. And it is something that we have had to deal with, and it's something that we have all been sad about, to have President Mandela on a list of terrorists.
Okay.
Okay. Now
That's-
you mentioned free and fair elections. I must take you back there. I don't know if you were in this country last week.